Hello, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Low Budget Interview Show. I think that's the title I'm going with. I'm your host, Eric Smith, and with me today is a very special guest, Mike Lombardo.
Howdy, folks.
Reel Splatter Productions.
Mm-hmm.
A great low-budget independent filmmaking endeavor. What would you call it? Group? Studio?
It's certainly an endeavor. I don't know about the rest of the stuff you said, but it's an endeavor.
All right. So I'm trying to. This is something new for me. I've got note cards here. They have absolutely no notes on them, but I'm trying to look like I'm doing something special. I don't have a horror themed coffee mug, so I have my Star Trek coffee mug to drink out of.
That's all right. If you look in the background of my room, I think there's enough horror stuff to cover everyone. Got a little plush Cthulhu, Tales from the Crypt. So I think we're covered.
That's good.
Zeke the Plumber T-shirt from Salute Your Shorts from Fright Rags.
Nice. I'll have to get a horror themed coffee mug. All I have is my Marvel Zombies back there.
If that's appropriate. The Complex.
The Complex, Brian Keene novel, great book. And somebody is a character in there, perhaps.
That's what I'm told. I mean, I don't read Mr. Keene's work, and I use that in air quotes, but I'm told that I'm in it, yes.
Have you read The Complex yet?
Oh, absolutely. I pre-read The Complex, as a matter of fact.
Oh, of course.
I had to see what he did with me to make sure that it was legally admissible and all of that. I was not disappointed.
Is it possible for him to have done something to you that wouldn't be okayed by you?
He asked me, actually no, Jeff Gonzalez asked me that when he put me in Back from the Dead. He said, "Is it okay if I kill you?" And I stared at him. We were having lunch, and I think I spit a mouthful of pizza and said, "Fuck yeah!" And he's like, "Is there anything you're not comfortable with?" And then he's like, "All right, stupid question," before I could even answer. So actually, in Clickers vs. Zombies, they wrote me as a closeted gay fundamentalist Christian who's sleeping with his pastor. I guess I should have prefaced that with spoiler alert. But that's what they wrote me in that book. So when they gave me my copy, they just kept giggling, and I was like, "What did you do?" And then I read it, I was like, "You fucking son of a bitch! What are you doing?" So to answer your question, no, there's nothing he could have done. Although my cameo in the Complex, he actually went pretty personal. In keeping with the tone of the book, it's very, very dark, and that it's fine by me.
It is, and you and the other particular person. To people that know you, even just know you from, say, Facebook, it was easy to recognize who you were, who these two particular characters were, and pick up a lot of the very specific details. And you and I have talked. I've never talked to. Is this spoiler, Brian Smith, if I say his name?
I don't think that's a spoiler at all. Brian Smith, the legendary author, such books as The Freak Show and Slowly We Rot.
I've never spoken to him, but just from his Facebook posts and everything, it was easy to pick out not just who the character was supposed to be, but the specific things that, it's like, that's like straight from real life.
Yeah, Keene really, and he said to me, because I had read Brian's part first, and I said, "Jesus, man, that's pretty real." And he's like, "Wait till you see what I did to you." And then I read it, I was like, "Oh my God!" But I mean, I've been friends with Brian for over 10 years now. So I mean, for better or worse, the son of a bitch knows me better than I probably know myself. So he's allowed to do it, I guess.
Well, I've been killed off in 2 books. In the first one, the author sent me an email. I was pre-reading that one, and the author sent me an email when he sent that particular chunk that it was in and said, "I killed you off in this part. I hope that's okay." The other author did not ask how I felt about it. But hey, I'm fine with it. And much like you, I don't think there's anything an author could do to me that I would object to. Unless they made me a complete bastard, like a racist, homophobic, just a shitty person. That I wouldn't like that. I think
even if they did that to me, like it would. I mean, with I'm sure they would play it in such comically over the top. Like if Ed Lee did that or something, it would be hilarious. But I could see that. I don't think they've ever delved into slander Brian or Jesus. Close. They've gotten close with me, but never.
I think if someone did that, I would want an absolutely horrific death then
Yeah.
for me.
They always give me an absolutely horrific death, no matter what they write me as. But it's always notable.
Or most of their deaths horrific.
Yeah, it's true. But
All right.
they said I've never known two people that enjoyed killing me so much. They were just, and they said, we've never known anyone who wanted to die as much as you.
Oh, I
So,
think it's fantastic.
yeah, I was like, well, most people only get that honor once.
Yeah.
But I've been killed, I think, 6 or 7 times now.
Before we get just way off track, because you and I could just talk about almost anything here, I
Absolutely.
want to talk about Reel Splatter.
All right, well,
Now,
fire away.
right here, I've got the two
Those are
DVDs.
great coasters.
We've got Suburban Holocaust and The Stall, of course. Now, right off the bat, on the back of the stall, it says, from horror comedy troupe Reel Splatter Productions. So, aside from you, who is the rest of the troupe?
That's an amorphous thing. At the time of the stall, it was no, it's mainly me, my good buddy Julius von Brunk, also known as Baron von Brunk, who does our web and graphic stuff, and acted in a lot of the things. Eric Mearns, who does our music, and acts. He's actually in the stall. Dylan Stern-Kearney, who shoots our stuff. Randy Rock, who's our new lighting guy and color correction extraordinaire. Scott Schaub, who stars in the stall and does visual effects for us, and then a rotating cast of miscreants and ex-cons or whoever's around. But I mean, over the years, like if you look at Suburban Holocaust all the way through the stall, you see some familiar faces, but I mean, it changes all the time. But I kind of feel like Reel Splatter is kind of like a band. It's a rotating lineup. And I guess I'm the odorous orungus of Reel Splatter.
Is there anyone that does as much as you? Because you write, direct, act, do gore effects, and just about everything you seem to have your hand in. And
Yeah, I mean, I get my fingers up in all sorts of things when we're on set. No, I mean, I do a lot. I mean, it's my baby. Like, I breathe, eat, and shit this stuff. But, I mean, this stuff wouldn't be possible without those guys I mentioned. Like, I put people through absolute hell on set. I mean, these people, by all rights, should have skinned me alive by now for the stuff I put them through. So, I mean, that level of dedication these guys give is seriously inhuman. So, I mean, they all contribute hugely. I just don't credit them because I'm an egomaniac. So,
well, that's one of the reasons I love low budget independent filmmaking, because and maybe it's just me, but I think I can actually feel the love, figuratively speaking, the love that
not the set someday.
the love that people put into it. And you talk about the things that you put your crew through,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't do it if they didn't love.
Absolutely. Or they were afraid of what I would do to them if they don't, or more specifically, their loved ones.
Well, there is that. But it just, especially listening to or looking at the special features, and you do go into some of the conditions and things that people have gone through, and you just know they had, especially since there's no Robert Downey Jr. size salaries in this at all.
No, our Coke budget is nowhere near what his is.
Exactly. So, do you at least provide craft service?
Oh, absolutely. I make all sorts of crafts. I made little snow globes for everybody for White Doomsday and stockings. No, that's the one thing I always do is I make sure everyone is fed very well. That is the golden rule of indie filmmaking. I tell that to everybody. Actually, I just got some emails from some people from Scares of Care asking advice about indie film, and I said, no matter what you do, I don't care what if you're shooting on a cell phone or a film camera, feed your casting crew and make sure they feel appreciated, because if you're working, well, in any production you should do that, but especially on low budget stuff, you have to feed people. And I mean, I do like big ziti trays. I work in a restaurant, so it's and I cook all the time, so it's easy for that. But I've been on a lot of shoots where I've just done special effects, and they give us some cold pizza, maybe some granola bars, and that's not acceptable. I mean, these people are pulling 18-hour shifts. The least you can do is feed them. Because the thing is, if these people weren't there and willing to help you, you wouldn't have a movie when it comes down to it. And as much as I joke, like, these guys, I would literally give them the shirt off my back any day of the week because they have just done so much for me, and you have to treat them with respect, and because it takes a special kind of person to put up with that level of hell. So feeding them is an absolute necessity, and feeding them well will stop them from mutinying and killing you, and putting your head on a stick, a la Lord of the Flies.
Well, I read Lloyd Kaufman's Make Your Own Damn Movie,
Excellent book.
and
Don't agree with all of it, but it's an excellent book.
if I remember correctly, and that's not always the case, but I think he emphasized feeding
Yeah,
cast and crew.
Troma's big on giving people cheese sandwiches, and that's like their joke. It's become a joke. Troma, I have a love-hate relationship with Troma and the way they treat people. I mean, Troma's kind of known for that punk rock sort of conditions, and that's okay because they attract people that want to be put through that kind of misery. I think they largely attract masochistic young people that think it's a badge of honor to be treated like garbage on a film set. And when I was younger, I certainly used to feel that way too, but the older I get, and the more professional people I work with, I think really treating people like human beings is definitely the way to go if you're a filmmaker. I would highly recommend that. So treat them with respect, feed them, make sure they have a place to go to the bathroom, that sort of thing. Although that's not even something we can provide all the time. Like on White Doomsday, we were pissing in soda bottles in the middle of abandoned locations. But
That's something.
yeah, I mean, it was something.
Well, I was surprised. I think it's in the special features on Poultrygeist, where I think that's where Lloyd Kaufman just went off on somebody. I believe is if I recall correctly, and I was actually surprised, and I
From
didn't.
what I understand, he does that quite a bit.
And it was one of the. I'm like, all right, is this a bit, or is he really like that angry about
Yeah,
this?
I've heard that he flips some people a number of times. I mean, with Troma, they're known for their thing, and the crew and stuff, they're expendable. I mean, I hate saying it that way, but they can get another 17-year-old who wants to be in a low budget movie off the street, and they don't care. So I mean, that's their thing. That's what they do. They're not particularly concerned about consistency or quality a lot of the time.
Hmm.
That works for them, but on a regular movie set, I mean, sometimes you have to flip out at people because
Right.
if someone is doing something that's going to endanger someone else or the equipment, then you got to flip out. And I've had very, very, very few instances where I had to yell at anybody because I'm a very laid back director generally. But sometimes you got to yell. I mean, it's sometimes the film crew becomes kind of like having children and you have to babysit them, or vice versa. So it happens.
All right, so your first DVD was Suburban Holocaust. We've got that right here. And this has how many shorts are on it? Do you know offhand? Off the top of your head?
I think it's 10, if I'm not mistaken. Plus we did a sequel to Demonstration of the Dead called The Lost Interview with Brian Keane. That's
Right.
only on that DVD. So I guess that's technically 11. But yeah, that's all the stuff from like that goes back to like 2006, I think. That's all of the older stuff up until Long Pig, I believe, was the last movie on there, and then Stall was our first big deal HD, sexy looking short, which got us on DVD. Excuse me, on DVD release.
Right. Now, looking back, well, first of all, do you go back and watch this stuff that's on Suburban
Oh
Holocaust?
yeah, all the time. Whenever people come to my house, it's part of the 5 cent tour. We always end up watching the old short films and stuff. I don't know. I like going back and seeing the progression of where we came from to what we're doing now. Sometimes I need a little reminder that I know what I'm doing. So when we're working on something particularly grueling, I'll pop in the old DVD and go back 10 years and see what we were doing then. I'm like, back then I thought that was the coolest thing we could possibly do, and I thought I was fucking Steven Spielberg, and look where we are now. So it's nice to keep perspective on stuff. Or if I want to embarrass myself in front of potential girlfriends, new family members, all sorts of stuff, I'm like, hey, watch all the terrible things I do in my free time. And then, they usually run. They don't get far. We have a crossbow.
Of course.
That's time for another interview.
Now, is there anything on here that makes you cringe, or you just take it all in as experience and learning?
There are things that I'm not as proud of as others, but I mean, I've grown a pretty tough skin over the years with the stuff. I mean, I enjoy seeing stuff warts and all. Like when we did the DVD, the urge to go back and fix things was incredibly strong. and I could re-edit things and change sound. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to fucking go back and George Lucas, all these old shorts, because, I mean, really, no matter what I did to them, they're not going to look better. I mean,
Just put
it might
walkie-talkies in
satisfy.
every scene.
Yeah, it's just CGI new actors in and everything. But no, I mean, I think it's important as an artist to go back and see everything warts and all. You have to see where you came from, and especially for the audience, I think it's important for them to see the progression. They can kind of take that ride with you. I love seeing that with films. I love watching a director's early work and his original shorts and seeing you, because you can see so much of what is going to happen down the line.
Hmm.
Ideas, seeds of ideas, and techniques and things, being used. I love the experimentation. That's what made like Evil Dead so great with Sam Raimi and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the stuff that inspired me, and I'd like to be egotistical enough to think that I might inspire someone else. So I like to do that.
And then on, I think it's Long Pig that has the movie within the movie.
Yes, one missed turn.
One missed turn. And that part is in HD.
Yes, that was so we shot that simultaneously with the stall. Long Pig we had made in 2000, I want to say 2008 or 2009 is when I started that project, and then all that was left was to shoot the opening fake movie segment, and I started dating someone and kind of got sidetracked for like 3 years, and after things went horribly awry and my romantic life was nuked, I was like, well, I need to do something productive, or I'm going to kill myself. So let's see. So we picked up Long Pig, and at that point we had access to full HD equipment and everything. And we were working on the stall, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to shoot this in fancy new equipment to get used to it. So the joke is that it goes from Michael Bay to Mike Lombardo. You watch the start of the movies all like pristine and beautiful, and then it cuts to old mini DV camera footage, which is always throws the audience for a loop, but I think it works with the joke. And I also love that the whole Long Pig is entirely based on subverting the audience's expectations constantly, and I love the idea that in normal movies, the movie within a movie they're always watching on TV is always really shitty looking, like with the boom mic falls into the shot, it's always intentionally very bad. So we did the opposite, and part of that was, if I can be as pretentious to say that I had an artistic reason for doing all of this, I wanted to show that Hollywood horror is very slick and polished, but there's essentially no substance to it whatsoever. So that was part of the joke. Not that Long Pig has much in the way of substance, I guess, but
One of my biggest complaints about Hollywood horror is how sleek it looks.
Mm-hmm.
And
pretty.
And again, that's why I go back to the independent horror and the low budget horror. I like horror that looks and feels gritty.
Yep, I agree.
And not that, well, even the ones distributed by big name companies, I think, are the ones that look the best to me are independent films that got picked up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the stuff that the actual Hollywood studios pump out that just look too shiny. They're too
shiny. It's glossy, lots of CGI, and I'm not a fan of that look. Not at all.
So then after that, we move on to the one we've mentioned already, the stall. Get the reflection on there. So up to this point, this was your most ambitious project?
Yes, absolutely.
And how did this come about?
That was actually an idea I had for many, many, many years. I think I came up with the idea for that in high school. Well, part of the idea. This was before fake trailers were a thing. Like, that kind of became popular around the Hobo with the Shotgun time. I was obsessed with old movie trailers, so I wanted to do something. I had the tagline, "Where will you be when the end comes?" I thought that was the coolest thing ever, and big Lovecraft geek. So I was actually at work one day in the bathroom taking a shit, and I heard a ruckus out in the dining room, and it sounded, for a split second, I thought the place was getting robbed. And I was like, what would happen if I was stuck in the bathroom and this place gets robbed? Like, what would I do? And then that went further to, what if I died at work, which is kind of my ultimate nightmare. And so that, the brain started cooking all sorts of stuff, but the stall came out of that. It was supposed to be a fake trailer, and then I started expanding it, and I was like, well, there's a full short in here. Much like White Doomsday was supposed to be a short film that ballooned into a feature. But yes, we started shooting that, and that was a hugely ambitious thing. That took about 2 years to make. It shouldn't have, but it did. We had to fire our initial camera guy, get Dylan on board instead, which turned out to be a wonderful thing because now we work with him all the time. But the technical effects weren't working out quite how I wanted, so I decided to just reshoot everything. So that took a huge amount of time and money, but I'm crazy, so I said, fuck it, I want this to look good. So we did it in, horrible conditions, like 102-degree days, and we're all crammed into a bathroom stall in an abandoned factory, covered in slime and blood, and it was probably the worst experience of my life. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
And it turned out fantastic.
Thank you.
It's great, and I love, again, I'm a huge fan of special features, and you've got plenty on both of these discs. And I believe you do talk about those horrible conditions.
Oh yeah, we go very in depth with those conditions. I think they tell my crew actually on the stall, bless their hearts, they were talking about how they were actually concerned about my physical well-being because I was killing myself so badly on this movie, and I think at one point I actually fell asleep standing up during one of my scenes in the movie, which is fucking horrible that happened. But I would go days without sleeping. Like, it was just awful. But you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta get it done.
Now, is there ever a time in the middle of all this that you start to think maybe it's not worth it?
No, actually, I can honestly say I never really get to that point. I mean, I joke about it, but I never. The part of it is, again, on an independent set, part of your job as a director is to keep morale up. And all it takes is one person to have a bad attitude, and it just infects the whole crew. And when you're working that hard in those kind of conditions for no pay, you really got to keep it entertaining. So I feel like half of my job is to be kind of a sideshow entertainer in addition to directing all the action. I got to keep the tone light and keep everybody moving and encouraged. And I don't have time to sit and think about, how horrible it is for me personally, because if I drop out, then it's done. It's game over, and then it really would be a waste of time.
Right.
And
I feel like I got all, excuse me. I feel like I got all Barbara Walters for a second there with that deep question.
Well, you're prettier than Barbara Walters, so.
Well, thank you. All right, so now your current project is I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday.
It is.
Now, this is based on a short story that you wrote.
Which actually, this up right here in A Strange House Christmas.
There we go. I was going to ask. It's a great
nice
cover.
Anthology. Yeah, very cool stuff. I like that cover a lot. That was an anthology that I was invited to. It was a Christmas anthology of bizarro Christmas stories, and I wrote this short story back in 2012, I believe.
Same title?
Yep, same title. That was and we had discussed this prior when we tried to record this the first time, but I wrote that story. My mother was diagnosed with kidney failure. Her kidneys were operating at 3% when she got admitted to the hospital and was in critical condition for about 9 months. And they did not think she was going to make it, but fortunately she did. But to stay sane during that time, I wrote that story, which essentially boiled down to a story about watching someone you care about fading away and being powerless to help them. So the White Doomsday, the movie and the story, are about a mother and her 7-year-old son who are starving to death in a bomb shelter after the world has ended. And so I'm billing it as The Road Meets Miracle on 34th Street. But it is by far the bleakest and most personal thing I have ever written in my life, and probably ever will write. Actually, I remember my roommates were joking. They said, we knew when you were writing that story because we could hear you sobbing as I wrote it. And then I gave it to them all as a Christmas present, and then they all cried on Christmas, and I ruined Christmas.
And then when did you decide to turn this into your next film?
So the story came out in the book, and it got very popular, and people kept telling me, you need to make this into a movie, you need to make this into a movie. And, of course, I don't believe anybody when they say anything nice to me. So, couple of years, I guess it's been 2 years, almost 2 years we've been working on White Doomsday now. I started thinking about it. I was like, I was trying to figure out the next project, and I was like, you know what? After the stall, we put it in the stall, I think, at 13 or 14 different film festivals. I got to travel around a lot, talk to people, and I was like, you know what? I can fucking do this. I think I can make this movie. So I started doing a breakdown and figuring out what we would need exactly. as far as portraying the apocalypse and stuff. And I was like, I think we might be able to pull this off with not that much money. And all of the money that I had raised at all the film festivals selling the Stall and Suburban Holocaust, that in addition to some private donations, then Brian Keane came on board as an executive producer. So we scraped together about 10 grand, and a year and a half later, we were finished shooting. So we shot on weekends. So I put about a year worth of pre-production in gathering props, because everything in the movie is period. It's all like 1996-ish.
Mhm.
Not that it's overtly mentioned or that anyone else in the world will ever realize it, but everything in there, it's a story about me growing up. So I wanted that to be a thing, but it's just one of those little weird visual motifs that nobody cares about but me. But yeah, so I was like, we can do this, and then we just started breaking it down in little chunks, and it started as a short film, and then it just ballooned, and I'm like, we were about 17 days into shooting, and I said, short films don't shoot for 17 days. And then I started to do a rough cut, and I was like, well, I thought the movie was going to be 20 minutes long total, and we're already at like 38 minutes. I was like, I think we have a feature. I think we accidentally made a feature. So, raised some more money, finished shooting, and now we're in post-production.
And for feature length, you need what, 70 minutes?
Technically a feature is 60 minutes, but no one will. That's a cop-out feature. It's like Full Moon. So you want 60 minutes at least. Ours comes in at, I believe, I want to say 72 minutes or something like that. That's without credits and titles. So it'll probably be about 80 minutes total when it's all said and done.
Nice.
So we're about right on target with where I was looking.
And what do you have left to do?
We have visual effects is what I'm working on right now. I'm outsourcing that to some artists. We have music, which Eric Mearns is doing for us. We have sound design, which I'm not looking forward to because it's incredibly tedious, but it really brings the movie to life.
Right.
And then we have color correction. So, we got to do a little bit of that on the trailer. We also got to do a little bit of music work for the trailer, too. So that was really exciting. And then all of our audio needs to get mastered, which I believe Matt Hayward, star of stage and screen, musician from Ireland, the Frozen North, as I call it, which is not accurate at all, but he just came on board to do our audio mastering. So,
well, the trailer is fantastic.
Thank you.
And if I can, we'll either have a link for it up here. It's on YouTube, correct?
Yes, it is on YouTube.
Okay, it's going to be on there. So I'll either have a link for it up here somewhere in the video, or if I can't do that, because I don't have final control over this, it's not my YouTube channel this is going on, I'll have it in the comments below, a link for the trailer, as well as a link for Reel Splatter's site.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. It's
Right.
reelsplatter.com.
Excuse me. Yes, Reel Splatter. Throw that out there. All right, so I'm going to use my fake note cards here.
Sure.
We're going to do a lightning round.
All right.
If that's all right with you. Just some questions. Cool. I don't actually have any of them written down on here, but we're going to fake it. So, favorite horror novel?
Favorite horror novel? Fuck.
Oh, come on.
I got to look back on the giant stack of books. Oh, fuck my life. What is my favorite horror novel? I don't know. I'm going to say probably American Psycho, I think, is the one I've reread the most. It's a toss-up. American Psycho is definitely there. Girl Next Door is probably on that list. Survivor by Jeff Gonzalez. There's a lot. But let's say American Psycho.
Go with American Psycho.
For the sake of lightning round.
All right. Favorite horror author, and remember, you don't have to be afraid of Brian Keane, so... Favorite horror author.
Favorite horror author. I'm gonna say Edward Lee. I love Brian, but Edward Lee is my girl.
He's definitely in my top 5. Favorite horror movie.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm hitting with these hard questions.
Favorite horror movie. Oh Christ, probably Hellraiser 2 or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Really, Hellraiser 2.
Yes, I love the original Hellraiser. I think it's a phenomenal movie. I'm upset. Hellraiser and Aliens actually are the two biggest obsessions in my life. Hellraiser 2, I just think the scope of it is so beautiful. I love how big it gets. I love the visuals and everything. I think Hellraiser is a better movie, but Hellraiser 2 is a cooler movie.
Okay.
Same with Aliens versus Alien. I mean, Aliens is definitely my favorite. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is just fucking glorious.
Oh, it's amazing, that film.
Honorable mention for Phantasm 2. Blood Diner is in that list.
A lot of twos in.
Yeah, I know, a lot of weird sequels things. People are always surprised by that, but I mean, I grew up watching this stuff on video when I was like 7, so I was too young to be a cinema snob. I just liked what I liked, and it hasn't really changed much. Now, as I get older, I find reasons to love the stuff even more because I'm a filmmaker, so it all works out.
Favorite horror director?
That's another tough one. Fuck, I don't know. Oh, Dead Alive is my favorite horror movie. What the hell am I saying?
Oh, wow.
God, it's killing me. Dead Alive is like the biggest. That movie changed my life when I was a
AKA
kid.
Brain Dead.
Yes, aka Brain Dead. So I'd say Peter Jackson. It's a toss up. Like currently, I think David Cronenberg is
Right.
probably my favorite from a filmmaking standpoint. But as far as just a fan, I'd say Peter Jackson, early Peter Jackson, not Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson.
That's another one. Those low budget independent, his early films.
Those guys,
amazing.
well, Peter Jackson, Sam Raimi. I mean, those guys. I mean, Trauma too. Once upon a time I'd say Lloyd Kaufman, but I've since, like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with Trauma, but. Those guys were huge inspirations to me because I'm like, these guys are doing this shit in their backyard with their friends, and it took them 4 years to make Bad Taste.
Right.
You got it really, and it's amazing, and it's like, wow, I can do this. It's fucking great. That raw passion and talent and ingenuity. I mean, Sam Raimi building his own camera rigs for Evil Dead, like, it's fucking amazing. It's just hugely inspirational.
All right. Well, I think you've probably answered this, but favorite horror franchise?
Favorite horror franchise, I definitely. So it's a toss up between Aliens, which I mean I consider Aliens horror. Aliens, Hellraiser, and Phantasm are definitely my favorite franchises as a whole. Like that's the holy trinity for me.
See, I definitely consider Alien a horror movie.
Yeah.
The others veer still horrific, but veer more into science fiction for me.
I think Alien 3 is definitely a horror movie. Alien 3 has a lot of similarities to Alien. I mean, Aliens is a comic book action movie, pretty much. It's a war movie is what it is, but
yeah.
It's monsters and shit. I mean, it's suspense based and stuff. I mean, what I love about the Aliens franchise is that it's a realistic future. There's never like kooky technology.
Right.
And, there's some of the atmosphere processes, all that kind of shit. But I mean, for the most part, it's a very grounded in reality, sort of dirty. I think the term they always use is a used future, which I always loved. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I definitely consider them more horror than sci-fi, but the lines are so blurry.
All right, least favorite horror franchise.
Least favorite horror franchise. Jesus Christ, I can't just pick one. Oh God, probably the first one that comes to mind is probably Saw. Well, actually, no. I mean, any Japanese ghost movie franchise, there's like a fucking bajillion of them. So
not a fan of
I don't know. It's a toss up because I mean Saw. Yeah, Saw is probably one of the worst things that has ever existed. Those movies are just so fucking brain dead, and like they. Saw is the movie that people that hate horror movies can point to and say, this is what's wrong with horror movies. This is just glorifying grotesque violence and torture, and there's no plot. It's just garbage. And they're absolutely right. It is exactly what's wrong with horror. It's unjustified brutality, and it just revels in being as ugly as possible. But there's nothing there. It's like eating rotten junk food. It's just horrible, and you could drive fucking semi-trucks through the plot holes in those goddamn movies. And they're just awful. They're just churn them out. They're the new Friday the 13th. They're just the new franchise. And they're making another one.
Are they?
Yeah, I just heard it was called like Saw Legacy or something, and it's like, how many more fucking ass-retarded plot lines can you cram in to that convoluted timeline?
I've only seen the first three.
Oh,
three. I've seen three.
If you can believe it, they're actually worse the longer they go on. It's like the Final Destination movies. Like, I mean, well, the first one is a decent movie. The second one is an awesome movie because it's just a splatter flick. But the rest of them is what Saw turned into. It's just a bunch of set pieces that are loosely connected.
See, now, I actually like Final Destination 3. I do not like 4 at all.
4 was miserable.
4 is horrible, and 5 has my favorite Final Destination death in it.
Which is that?
So it gets props for that. The gymnast.
Gymnast. How does she bite it? I don't remember.
Oh, well, it's one of those where there's a whole bunch of things going on, so you don't know which thing it's going to be, and it ends up setting off the chain reaction. She's on the uneven parallel bars and flips and slips and comes down like face first, and her back folds over, and her legs are all
I don't even remember that happening. Was that the Final Destination?
That's whatever the
That's
fifth
six.
one is called. The
Or was
last.
there a sixth one? Was that the last one they made?
Yeah.
I don't fucking remember that. I remember that movie actually being somewhat enjoyable.
The one that starts on the bridge.
Yes, it is. Okay.
That's the one that starts on the bridge. And I do like the way that one tied in with the rest at the end. But yeah, four is horrible.
4 is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
But yeah, 2 and 1. 1 because it was new. It was a different idea. It was something we hadn't seen.
The second one did what I love about sequels that I mentioned earlier, is they took the original concept and just made it bigger and they expanded the mythology of it a little bit. And it was, I mean, the second one was winking at the camera the whole time like that. When I met the director and the crew, the cast and crew at Fangoria Weekend of Horrors before the movie came out, and they showed the opening car crash is the first footage that they had released of the movie, and he got a standing ovation. He said, I just wanted to tell you guys, this is a splatter movie. He's like, the studio doesn't want me to say that, but fuck them, it's a splatter movie. And that was just the greatest thing to hear, because at the time, in post-Columbine cinema world, you didn't do nasty violence and stuff. That was kind of, let's go PG-13, we don't want to offend anybody. So that was really refreshing.
Well, until 5, Final Destination 2 had my favorite kill, which was the fence.
Oh, really? See, I like the plate glass dropping on the kid.
See, most people I talk to seem to like that one, and that's great, but there's just something about that fence and I like chunks, I guess.
Oh, no, it was a great scene. Don't get me wrong.
Chunks.
I love it.
All right, well, that's it for the semi-lightning round, I guess.
There's a long thunderstorm. There's a couple strikes lightning.
We actually just had one. We just had one pass through while we were talking. So now we're going to do something else.
Okay.
And we're going to try something. Now, Ted Raimi did this with me, so if you don't agree to do it, you're basically saying you're better than Ted Raimi.
I would never, ever even imply something close to that. Ted Raimi is an amazing human being.
He was great, and what I want to do is ask you 5 questions about me.
Okay.
All right? So, question number 1. On Suburban Holocaust...
Yes.
Which is my favorite short?
What is your favorite short on Suburban Holocaust? I feel like you would be a Skylar Phalanges man. Maybe Long Pig. You know what? No. See, I want to say Demonstration of the Dead because Keen is in it. But that's too easy. I'm gonna say Skylar Phalanges.
I'm afraid the answer is Womb with a View.
Womb for Two.
Womb for Two, yes. Well, I always get it wrong every time.
There's actually a business that just opened around here called Womb with a View. It's what do you call it? The 3D scanning for pregnant women, which is hilarious. See, I was gonna say Womb for Two, but I thought that with your love of comic books and stuff, you would appreciate the anti-stylization thing that we did in Skylar Phalanges. But okay, I see. Womb for Two is my personal favorite.
Womb for Two, it's the set is amazing. It's hilarious. It's really gross.
I can definitely say it's gross.
With certain mucuses or whatever you want to call it. Just overall, I absolutely love it, even though I can never remember the proper title. Womb for Two, and I get it wrong every time. I always say Womb with a View. Could you change the title for me? Or just make it easier on me?
Actually, I think there's a Guar song called Womb with a View. If I'm not mistaken. Someone just told me that recently. I have to double check that, but I think there might be a Guar song called that. So maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Okay, could be. All right, question number 2 about me. What is my favorite color?
What is your favorite color? Black.
Very good. That's an easy one. That's almost although Ted Raimi got it wrong.
Really?
Yes. All right. Question number 3. What is it about the stall that I love so much?
What about the stall do you
I know it's kind of a vague question, but...
What about the stall do you love so much? I'd say the Lovecraft references.
There you go. Go with that.
Yeah, I was gonna take it a step further and just say the actual the avoidance of showing exactly what's happening, like the actual Lovecraft style storytelling, which is what the compliment we get on that a lot, which makes me the happiest that people actually understand that we tried to make the movie as Lovecraftian as possible instead of just dropping references to it.
Well, that is
Which makes it good.
fantastic, but it's the, I guess, would you call them Lovecraftian Easter eggs?
Yeah, I'd say they're Easter eggs because they're not. There's nothing that's overtly that doesn't really matter to the plot. It's just well, there's a couple things obviously, but I mean they're background gags basically. Like
Right.
I grew up watching Leslie Nielsen movies, like The Naked Gun and all that kind of stuff, and Mel Brooks. I love background gags. Like actually, it's funny because those parody movies are probably my biggest influence as a filmmaker.
Interesting.
Most people don't realize. So I love little background gags and shit. If you can watch a movie 5 times and get something new out of it each time, that makes me giddy as shit. And I did that basically the Lovecraft version of that for people, and I love having people come up to me and they're like, I fucking recognize this on the bathroom stall graffiti or on the radio. They were saying this and that. That just makes me so happy.
Yeah, well, it works, especially, again, if you're a love... It's the type of movie you don't have to know Lovecraft, and you can still enjoy the movie for what it is. But if you
And that's
are
yeah.
a Lovecraft fan, and you can pick out all those little things that bumps it up, gives it that extra touch. All right, question number 4 about me. Should I grow a ponytail?
Should you grow a ponytail? Turn your head to the side. You could probably pull off the Reggie Bannister, like a little ponytail that you kind of keep like tied. I could see it. I think you could rock it.
I'm afraid the answer is no. I used to have one back when I had more hair all over. I had long hair. I don't think I could pull it off now.
I see. I don't know, man. You've got very similar features to Reggie. I think and he pulls it off very well.
But
I
I
think
don't
you
have
could
its
do.
cool. I don't have his
I
cool factor.
I don't know, man. You're pretty cool. I think you should. The worst case, you just cut it off again.
That's true. All right. Well, I'll take that into consideration. All right. Question number 5. Final question about me. What do I need to know about I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday before I see it, before it comes
What
out?
do you need to know about it? Actually, I'm glad you asked that. What you need to know is that it is not a slasher movie, for one, because I've got a couple people recently saying because they saw the image of the guy in the Santa costume with the gas mask. It is not a slasher movie. It is not. When I tell people it's The Road meets Miracle on 34th Street, that is the closest description I can give that movie without ruining the entire movie by giving away all of the details. It has the tone of a movie like The Road. It is a slow burn character piece that is insanely bleak. It is not an action-packed, post-apocalyptic adventure movie where they're killing zombies and shit. It's not that at all. It is a very, very dark drama. It's actually, I've considered a dark drama more than a horror movie personally, but, that's just me. But I think that's what you need to know is don't go into it expecting a big B movie. It's not at all. It's very, very serious. No comedy whatsoever. It's all dead serious.
All right.
So that's what you should know.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it.
So, all right, that's it for 5 questions about me. What do you think? How did that go?
I think that went pretty well. I'm a little distressed about the ponytail. I mean, I think you should do it, but it's your body, your choice.
I'll think about it. Right now, I'm working on a new tattoo. I'll worry about the hair later.
I wholeheartedly support tattoos. We've got lots of them. So
Well, I've seen the video of you getting the one tattoo.
yeah, the Dr. Judd tattoo. Then I've got the Lovecraft Siamese twin fetuses on my leg as well.
Well, I'm going with Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
Just going straight
That's
up.
wonderful.
Got to go with Cthulhu. All right, well, I think that's all I've got. Is there anything that you want to plug, anything you want to talk about before we go?
All I really have to say is if you're watching this, then you probably are a fan of low-budget horror and independent stuff, and all I ask is not necessarily myself, but support other independent filmmakers, especially in the horror genre, because when you watch something, if you like it, email the person. Find them on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and just say, hey, I enjoyed your movie, because you never know when that one offhand compliment might pry a gun barrel out of someone's mouth, because when you make films like this, it's very, very difficult, and it's very thankless a lot of the time, but, always support artists, because we're doing it for you, and it's nice to get feedback, so please review and tell people about it, because you can go to see the next Blumhouse movie in the theater 20 times, or take a chance on a small guy. Maybe you'll find something cool and unique. You never know. So support independent film, please.
Absolutely. I love independent movies, as I said. And as I mentioned earlier, I will have a link somewhere. There will be a link for Reel Splatter. And you've got an online store, correct?
We do. You can buy both DVDs on there. I'll even sign them for you and make them worthless, so you
Yep,
can't trade them anywhere.
I've got an autograph on there somewhere. I don't know if you can see that
Yeah, I scribbled something. I don't know what it was. But
on that one. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on this first episode of the Low Budget Interview Show, if that's the name we keep.
Well, once again, I'm honored to be your first. So.
Oh, you never forget your first. All right. So everybody, excuse me. So all of you out there watching it, as I said, I'll have a link somewhere for the White Doomsday trailer. I'll have a link for the Reel Splatter website. Please comment on the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. So that's it for the Low Budget Interview Show. Thank you once again, Mike Lombardo. I'm Eric Smith, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And I guess that's it.
Excellent.